I was 27 years old when my body first tried to warn me. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I had just started a new job as a delivery coordinator for a logistics company. The hours were long, the work was stressful, and my sleep schedule was unpredictable. Some nights I slept 5 hours, other nights maybe 3. I told myself it was temporary, just the price you pay when you're trying to build a stable life. I wasn't unhealthy, at least not in the way people usually imagine. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink heavily, I wasn't overweight, I looked normal from the outside, and that made it easy to believe everything was fine on the inside. But small problems started appearing. At first, it was just tiredness. Not the normal kind of tiredness after a long day. This felt deeper. Even after a full night's sleep, I would wake up feeling exhausted. My arms felt heavy, and sometimes my legs felt weak when I walked upstairs. I blamed stress. Everyone around me was tired too, so it seemed normal. My coworkers joked about surviving on coffee and energy drinks. I joined them without thinking twice. Soon, I was drinking 2 or 3 energy drinks every day. It became routine. Morning, energy drink. Afternoon, coffee. Evening, another energy drink just to stay focused. Looking back now, I realize how careless that was, but at the time, it felt like the only way to keep going. The headaches started a few months later. At first, they were mild, just a pressure behind my eyes. I assumed it was from staring at screens all day. Then they became stronger. Some days, the pain spread across my entire forehead. Bright lights started to bother me. Loud sounds felt sharper than usual. Still, I ignored it. Painkillers became part of my daily life. I kept them in my bag, in my desk, even in my car. I never thought about why I needed them so often. I only cared that they worked. One evening, after a particularly long shift, I felt dizzy while walking to my car. The ground seemed slightly unstable beneath my feet. I stood still for a moment and waited for the feeling to pass. After about 30 seconds, it was gone. I told myself I was just tired. That explanation worked for a while. Weeks passed and the dizziness returned occasionally. Sometimes it lasted only a few seconds, other times it lasted longer. But the worst part wasn't the dizziness. It was the strange pressure in my chest. It felt like something heavy pressing inward. Not sharp pain, just tightness. It usually happened late at night when I was lying in bed. I told myself it was anxiety. I had read online that stress can cause chest tightness, and that explanation made me feel safe enough to ignore it. One night, everything changed. It was around 2:30 in the morning. I woke up suddenly with a strong headache and a strange feeling in my arms. They felt numb, like they didn't belong to me. My heart was beating fast, too fast. I sat up in bed and tried to calm myself down, but the numbness spread into my fingers. Then I noticed something even more frightening. My left hand was shaking. Not violently, just enough to make me uneasy. I stood up and walked to the bathroom. Looking into the mirror, I noticed my face looked pale. My eyes looked tired and unfocused. For a moment, I considered going back to bed, but something inside me said this was different. I called my older brother. He answered after the 3rd ring. When he heard my voice, he immediately knew something was wrong. 20 minutes later, he arrived and drove me to the emergency department. I remember sitting in the passenger seat feeling embarrassed. Part of me still believed I was overreacting. But when we arrived, the nurse checked my blood pressure. Her expression changed immediately. She checked it again, then a 3rd time. Finally, she looked at me and said calmly, "Your blood pressure is very high." I didn't understand what that meant. High blood pressure sounded like something older people had, not someone in their 20s. They took me to a small examination room and attached monitors to my chest. My heart rate was fast. Too fast. A doctor came in and asked me several questions. Did I drink caffeine? Yes. How much? I hesitated. Then I told the truth. 2 or 3 energy drinks a day, sometimes more.
He nodded slowly. They did blood tests. They did an ECG. They checked my oxygen levels. Hours passed. Around 6 in the morning, the doctor returned. He explained that my blood pressure was dangerously high. Not just slightly elevated, dangerously high. If I had ignored the symptoms longer, it could have caused serious damage, stroke, heart damage, kidney problems. The words sounded unreal. I felt too young to be hearing them. He asked about my lifestyle, sleep schedule, diet, stress, caffeine, physical activity. As I answered, I realized how unhealthy my habits really were. Fast food several times a week, sugary drinks daily, little exercise, irregular sleep, constant stress. He explained that high blood pressure doesn't always cause obvious symptoms. Many people have it for years without knowing. Sometimes the first warning is a heart attack or stroke. That sentence stayed in my mind long after I left the hospital. They kept me for observation until the afternoon. Before I left, the doctor gave me clear instructions. Reduce caffeine immediately. Sleep at least 7 hours per night. Reduce salt intake. Exercise regularly. Return for follow-up tests. And most importantly, take my health seriously. The first week after the hospital visit was difficult. I stopped drinking energy drinks completely. The headaches became worse at first. My body was used to caffeine. Without it, I felt slow and unfocused. But gradually, things improved. My sleep became deeper. The dizziness disappeared. The chest tightness became rare. After a month, I returned for a follow-up appointment. My blood pressure had improved. Not perfect, but better. The doctor said I was moving in the right direction. That encouragement meant more than he probably realized. It made me believe change was possible. 3 months later, I had lost 5 kilograms. I wasn't dieting aggressively. I simply stopped eating late at night and reduced fast food. I started walking every evening. Nothing extreme, just 30 minutes, sometimes 40. The walks became something I looked forward to. Time to think, time to breathe, time to slow down. 6 months after that night in the emergency department, my blood pressure was close to normal. The doctor smiled when he read the numbers. He said, "You did the hard part." Those words stayed with me. But the biggest change wasn't physical, it was mental. Before that night, I thought health meant not being sick. Now I understood something different. Health means listening before the crisis comes, because the body whispers before it screams. The tiredness, the headaches, the dizziness, the chest pressure, those were warnings. I ignored them because I felt young, because I felt busy, because I thought serious problems only happened to other people. Now I know better. I still work long hours sometimes. Life is still stressful, but I respect my limits. I drink water instead of energy drinks. I sleep when my body needs rest. I move when I've been sitting too long. I pay attention to small symptoms, because small symptoms can become big problems. Sometimes I think about what might have happened if I had stayed home that night, if I had ignored the numbness, if I had gone back to sleep. Maybe nothing would have happened, or maybe everything would have changed. I will never know. But I do know this. That night probably saved my life. And if someone reading this story recognizes the same warning signs, the constant tiredness, the headaches, the dizziness, the chest pressure, I hope they do something I almost didn't do. Listen, because health problems rarely appear suddenly. They build quietly, day by day, habit by habit, until one day the body demands attention. And when that day comes, it's better to be ready, not surprised. Your body is always speaking. The question is whether you are willing